Beyond the Red House, where we turn trauma into triumph and pain into purpose. I'm Kayla Valterno, author of I Was Once the Girl in the Red House, and I believe in the power of authentic healing stories. This is a space where your voice matters, your story heals, and your journey inspires others to break their own cycles. Whether you're just beginning your healing or years into building your new life, you belong here. Let's explore what it means to move beyond the red houses that hurt us and build the lives we actually deserve. Welcome back to Beyond the Red House. I'm Kayla, and today we're going to talk about something that's absolutely essential to your healing when you're healing from trauma that doesn't really get talked about enough, and that is self-esteem. Here's the truth that nobody tells you when you're starting your healing journey. You can set all the boundaries in the world. You can go to therapy every week. You can cut off every toxic person from your life. But if you don't rebuild your sense of self-worth, you're building your healing on a foundation of sand. Learning to love yourself isn't some fluffy self-help concept. It's an actual groundwork that makes every other part of healing possible. It's the actual groundwork that makes every other part of healing possible. So today we're going to talk about why toxic families destroy self-esteem and how damaged self-worth keeps you stuck even after you've removed yourself from that toxic situation. And more importantly, how to rebuild your relationship with yourself from the ground up. If you've ever felt like you're not good enough, maybe you feel as if you don't deserve good things, or like everyone else has value except you, then this episode's for you. Let's start by understanding how toxic family dynamics damage your self-esteem in the first place. When you grow up with toxic parents or family members, you learn very specific messages about yourself. You learn that your needs don't matter. Because when you expressed your needs, you were told that you were too demanding, too needy, or too sensitive. You learn that your feelings are wrong. Because when you felt hurt or angry, you were told that you were overreacting or making things up. You learn that love is conditional because affection and approval were given and withdrawn based on whether or not you did what they wanted. You learned that you're responsible for other people's emotions because when they were upset, it was somehow your fault and your job to fix it. You learned that you're not trustworthy because your memories and perceptions were constantly questioned and dismissed. These aren't just passing thoughts. When you hear these messages consistently throughout your childhood and young adulthood, they become the lens through which you see yourself. They become your inner voice. And if you've ever grown up in that toxic family dynamic, you probably have a very loud inner critic. That voice in your head that constantly judges you, puts you down, and tells you you're not good enough. And you know what most people don't realize? That voice you hear, it's not yours. It's the internalized voice of all those toxic family members that told you those things. When your parent or family member told you that you're too lazy, stupid, selfish, or too much, you eventually started telling yourself those things. Their external criticism became your internal criticism. That inner critic sounds like, I'm so stupid, why did I do that? Nobody would want to be with someone like me. I always mess everything up. I don't deserve good things. Everyone else has it together except me. I'm too much, or I'm not enough. This voice may feel like it's protecting you by keeping you in check, but it's actually keeping you small and stuck in those patterns that you learned from that toxic family. And even after you removed yourself from that toxic situation, low self-esteem continues to damage your life in very specific ways. You tolerate poor treatment from others. When you don't believe you deserve respect, you accept disrespect. You stay in friendships and relationships that drain you because you don't think you deserve better. Maybe you're terrified of setting boundaries because deep down, you believe that if you set those boundaries, people will leave. And you think that's because you're not worth staying for, not because those people don't respect boundaries. You self-sabotage. When good things happen, you unconsciously find ways to destroy them because they don't match your internal belief that you don't deserve good things. You people please constantly. You exhaust yourself trying to earn love and approval because you don't believe you're worthy of it, just as you are. You compare yourself to everyone, and everyone always comes out ahead because you're comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. Maybe you can't celebrate your accomplishments, even when you do succeed, because you minimize it, attribute it to luck, or immediately focus on what you could have done better. Low self-esteem isn't just feeling bad about yourself. It's a set of beliefs and behaviors that have kept you trapped in patterns of self-abandonment and accepting less than you deserve. When you grew up in that toxic family, you probably were taught that putting yourself first means you're selfish, that taking care of your own needs makes you self-centered, that real love means sacrificing yourself for others. And let me tell you something clearly. That's a lie designed to keep you compliant and easy to control. Self-love isn't selfish. Self-love is recognizing that you're a human who deserves the same care, respect, and compassion that you give to everyone else you love. Let's think about it this way. If you had a friend who was constantly criticizing themselves, staying in relationships where they were mistreated, maybe they're ignoring their own needs, and running themselves into the ground, trying to please everyone else, would you think that they're doing a good job of living their life? No. You'd be worried about them, right? You'd want them to treat themselves better. That's what self-love is. It's treating yourself the way you'd treat someone you care about. Here is why self-esteem is the foundation of healing trauma. You can't set those healthy boundaries if you don't believe you deserve respect. Boundaries require believing that your needs and feelings matter. You can't leave toxic relationships if you don't believe you deserve better. Why would you leave if you think this is the best you can get? You can't stop people-pleasing if you don't believe you're worthy of love, just as you are. People-pleasing comes from trying to earn worth through service. You can't trust your own judgment if you don't believe you are capable of making good decisions. This keeps you dependent on others for validation. You can't take care of yourself if you don't believe you deserve care. Self-neglect is a symptom of low self-worth. Other healing strategies may be therapy, boundaries, self-care, no contact. It works better when it's built on a foundation of genuine self-worth. And if you're listening to this thinking, I don't even know how to begin loving myself, you're not alone. I've been there. Most people who grew up in toxic families have no idea what self-love actually looks like in practice. So let me start here. Self-love doesn't mean you have to feel positive about yourself all the time. And it doesn't mean thinking you're perfect. It doesn't mean being arrogant or never acknowledging your mistakes. No, self-love means treating yourself with basic human dignity and compassion, even when you're imperfect, especially when you're imperfect. You don't have to love everything about yourself to practice self-love. You just have to be willing to stop treating yourself like your worth is conditional on being perfect. And one of the first steps in rebuilding self-esteem is learning to recognize and challenge that inner critic. Start by noticing when that critic speaks up. What does it say? When does it get the loudest? Then ask yourself, is this actually true? Or is this something I was taught to believe about myself? Let's say, for example, your inner critic says, I'm so stupid. Ask yourself, is this objectively true, or am I being harsh? Would I say this to someone I care about? Where did I learn to talk to myself this way? What would a compassionate person say to me right now? You don't have to immediately replace negative thoughts with positive ones. Sometimes the middle ground is just neutral. Instead of I'm so stupid to maybe I'm brilliant, I want you to go in the middle. I'm so stupid, change that to I made a mistake, and that's a normal thing to do. The goal is not toxic positivity by no means. The goal is accurate, compassionate self-perception. When you're taught your worth was conditional, you were valued when you were useful, compliant, and meeting their needs, which meant your worth could have been taken away at any moment. You have value simply because you exist as a human being, not because of what you do, achieve, or provide for others. This is a hard concept to internalize, especially if you've spent your whole life trying to earn love and approval. Start by separating your worth from productivity, achievements, or how much other people approve of you. Because your worth isn't determined by how much you've accomplished, whether people like you, how you look, your mistakes or failures, how well you serve others, or whether or not your family accepts you. Your worth is inherent. It can't be earned, and it cannot be taken away. And here's a practice that can help shift your entire relationship with yourself. For 1 week, try treating yourself the way you would treat someone you deeply love. How does this look practically? When you've made a mistake, instead of a harsh criticism, respond with understanding. Everyone makes mistakes. What can I do to learn from this? When you're tired, instead of pushing through, allow yourself to rest without guilt. When you need something, instead of dismissing your needs, take them seriously. When you're hurting, instead of minimizing your pain, acknowledge it with compassion. When someone treats you poorly, instead of accepting it, protect yourself the way you would protect someone you love. And then you'll notice how different this feels from how you usually treat yourself. That difference shows you how much work there is to do and how much potential there is for your healing. And a huge part of building self-esteem after trauma is really learning to reparent yourself, to give you the support, the validation, and care that you didn't receive as a child. Reparenting yourself means celebrating your wins, even small ones. Your parents might not have celebrated you, but you can celebrate yourself. Comforting yourself when you're struggling. You can now be that safe person you needed when you were younger. Setting healthy limits with yourself. Not punishing yourself, but guiding yourself with compassion. Validating your own feelings. Your emotions are real and important, even if your family told you they weren't. advocating for your needs, speaking up for yourself the way a good parent would have spoken up for their child. You're not just healing your inner child, you're becoming the parent to yourself that you deserve to have. People with low self-esteem, they often can't see their own growth. They're so focused on what they're struggling with that they miss how far they've come. Start keeping track of your progress, no matter how small. Did you maybe set a boundary this week? Major growth. Did you catch your inner critic and challenge it? Still growth. Did you choose rest instead of pushing yourself to that brink of exhaustion? Very much growth. Did you maybe remove yourself from a situation that felt toxic? Huge growth. Did you ask for what you needed? Anyone with trauma knows that is huge. And remember that healing isn't linear. I say this a lot because it's true. Healing is not linear, and progress isn't always dramatic. Sometimes progress is just choosing yourself a little bit more than you did yesterday. And your self-esteem will have a hard time improving if you're still surrounded by people who treated you the way your toxic family did. I want you to pay attention how you feel around different people. People who support your healing, you feel energized, seen, valued. They celebrate your progress. They respect your boundaries, and they validate your feelings. And people who undermine your healing, you'll feel drained, small, criticized. They minimize your experiences. They make you feel guilty for protecting yourself. You might need to distance yourself from some relationships that are holding you back, and that's okay. Protecting your healing is an act of self-love. Self-compassion is different from self-esteem. Self-esteem is how you evaluate yourself, whereas self-compassion is how you treat yourself, especially when things get hard. Self-compassion has 3 components: self-kindness, treating yourself with warmth and understanding rather than harsh judgment. Common humanity, recognizing that struggle, imperfection, and failure are a part of being a human, not signs that something is wrong with you specifically. Mindfulness, being aware of your pain without pushing it away. Practice saying to yourself, this is really hard now, and it makes sense that I'm struggling. What do I need in this moment? That's self-compassion. Not fixing everything, not pretending you're fine, but acknowledging your pain and responding with kindness. Now, of course, there will be days where you slip back into old patterns, when you accept poor treatment and abandon your own needs, when you believe the inner critic's harshest judgment. These setbacks don't erase your progress. They're part of the healing process. When you notice you've slipped, don't punish yourself. That just adds more pain on top of pain. Get curious instead. What triggered this? What need wasn't being met? What can I learn? Recommit to treating yourself well. The next moment is always a chance to start again. Remember, your healing is not about perfection. It's about slowly, gradually choosing yourself more than you did before. And sometimes, loving yourself feels completely impossible. The idea of treating yourself with kindness, maybe it will feel fake, forced, or ridiculous. If that's where you are, start smaller. You don't have to love yourself, but can you just stop actively hating yourself? You don't have to think you're wonderful. but can you acknowledge that you're trying your best? You don't have to celebrate yourself, but can you please stop punishing yourself for normal human imperfection? You don't have to feel worthy. Can you act as if you're worthy and maybe see what happens? Sometimes self-love starts off as the fake it till you make it, and that's okay. You're building a new pattern, and it takes time for those patterns to feel natural. And here's what happens when you start genuinely valuing yourself. Your relationships will improve. You stop attracting people who mistreat you because you are no longer a match for that energy. Your boundaries get stronger. It becomes easier to say no because you believe your own needs matter. Your anxiety decreases. You're not constantly trying to earn worth or avoid being abandoned. Your decisions improve. You start making choices based on what's good for you and not just what pleases others. And you'll notice your life changes. When you believe you deserve good things, you start creating a life that reflects that belief. Self-love isn't just about feeling better. It's about fundamentally changing how you move through the world and what you accept in your life. Now, let me give you some concrete practices you could start today. Morning check-ins. Start by asking yourself, what do I need today? And actually honoring that answer. Positive mirror work. Look at yourself in the mirror and say one kind thing. It will feel awkward, and does, but do it anyway. Practice your boundaries. Say no to one thing that you don't want to do, and build that. Celebrating yourself. At the end of each day, write down 3 things you did well. No minimizing yourself, no adding, but this happened. Body kindness. Do one thing each day that's kind to your body. Maybe it's rest, movement, nourishing food, whatever you need. Thought replacement. When you catch that inner critic, immediately replace it with what you would say to your friend. These aren't grand gestures. They're small. They're small acts of choosing yourself that add up over time. I want to say something directly to you. Wherever you are on your healing journey, I want you to know that you deserved to be loved unconditionally as a child. You deserved parents who made you feel safe, valued, and worthy. You deserved to grow up believing you were enough just as you are. And if you didn't get that, I'm so sorry. That was the failure of the adults in your life. And it's not a reflection of your own self-worth. But here's the truth. Unfortunately, you can't go back and change your childhood. But what you can do is start giving yourself the love you deserved then and absolutely deserve now. You are so worthy of love. You are worthy of respect. You are worthy of taking up space in the world. You are worthy of having needs and getting them met. You are worthy of protecting yourself, and you are worthy of healing. Not because of anything you've done or achieved, simply because you exist. Rebuilding self-esteem after family trauma, it's not quick or easy. There's no magic fix. I wish there was. There's no one moment where everything clicks and suddenly you love yourself and you're great. It's a practice. Some days are way easier than others. And some days you'll treat yourself with that genuine kindness. But on other days, you'll slip back into that harsh self-judgment. But every time you choose to treat yourself with even a tiny bit more compassion, you're healing. Every time you challenge that inner critic, you are healing. Every time you honor your needs, you're healing. The relationship you have with yourself is the longest relationship you'll ever have. It's worth investing in. It's worth fighting for. It's worth the uncomfortable work of changing deeply ingrained patterns. You deserve to be loved by the person whose opinion matters the most. Yourself. Thank you so much for listening today and doing this brave, difficult work of learning to value yourself. Your healing matters. Your story matters. And you matter. Thank you for listening to Beyond the Red House. If you have a story to share or want to connect, email me at hello@kaylavalterno.com. Visit kaylavalterno.com for my book and resources to support your healing journey. Everything will be in the show notes. Keep building beyond whatever tried to break you. You are stronger than you know. This is Beyond the Red House.